Hi everyone. Gonna wait a couple minutes before we start here. See if anybody else wants to jump on. But you should realize this is a problem we've done before. I'm just going to show you the proportional reasoning behind it. If you looked ahead at the slideshow already, we've started the slideshow. We just never really finished it. So I'd like to finish that today. And bottom line is, once you figure out how to do proportional reasoning, this is probably how you're going to solve all the problems that we've been talking about in this chapter. So you could do these with unit rate, you could do these with scaling, but we're going to look at proportional reasoning, which is probably the most systematic, straightforward way to do. Can I draw something? Yeah, I drew a table. You don't like the table. No, we're going to start soon. So, no, Eli, I didn't really start. And it's okay, guys, if you missed the stream or something, it does get recorded, so you can go back and watch it. The discussion created question is graded. The question is graded based on did you do it or did you not. So looking at the discussion question for today, I already have a couple people who have submitted things in. However, you're required to write your thought for it, and then you're required to respond to 2 others. So you have to write 3 things minimum. And there are many ways to answer that discussion question today. We looked at a lot of different types of problems. You just have to use the ratio of 3 to 10, I think I put down. So along with today's live stream, you have the discussion question, which is posted in the classroom, as well as a Google Forms that is posted in the classroom. The Google Forms is not a quiz. It is just done for completion. I just set it up so when you are done, you will get feedback, so you'll actually see the answers to everything when you're done. That way you can see if you're doing it right. However, the way you set proportions up, there are different ways of doing it, and they will all work out the same way in the end. So it doesn't really matter how you set it up. There are actually 4 different ways to set these up each time. Pick one. Just keep things organized and straight. What's the homework for today? Today you're going to have, again, you're going to have a discussion question that's in the Google Classroom. Please respond to it and then respond to 2 of your classmates' responses. And there's a Google Forms, which will have a bunch of word problems. So read carefully, but they are all kind of set up in a similar way. And I will show you how to do them all today. And if we still have time, I'll do some examples specifically from that sheet too if you need to. Can we use money in the discussion question? Yeah, I guess, sure, go for it. Anything that deals with the ratio of 3 to 10, so that could be $3 to 10 cupcakes. If you look at what other people wrote already, I think they have a lot of unit price things that we did yesterday in there. But you could easily have just adopted this problem here and been like, hey, each aquarium, they feed 3 pounds of food for every 10 pounds of body weight, and then there's 28, and then boom, there's your question if you really wanted to be lazy about it. But let's get started with this. We're going to talk about proportional reasoning today. So there is only one method that you can use today to solve your things, and that is through proportional reasoning. So we're not looking for common denominators. We're not looking to scale things. We're not looking for unit rates. We're going straight from the information that's given to the answer. And it is actually pretty simple to do as long as you keep yourself organized. And then there's a little bit of algebra with it. So what we're going to do is, one way to organize yourself is to make a table. And here you can see I have a table kind of already put out, already like laid out. I don't know if you can go back and edit the discussion question, but you are more than welcome to respond to yours saying, hey, in addition, there's this. So you can do it that way. But yeah, I'm just looking for trying to get a discussion going on something there between you guys, getting you to do a little bit different than me just giving you a lecture and then you doing a worksheet of some sort. It's going to get boring this way pretty quickly, so I'm trying different things. But we'll see. So here, I just kind of put together a table. We have our 2 units, food and body weight from over here. And that's coming from the fact that here I'm talking about 8 pounds of food and I'm talking about pounds of body weight. Here this is body weight and this here is food. So it's asking about food and body weight. So those are 2 of my categories I have. What if we got it wrong? What are you talking about, Sarah? The discussion question? You kind of made your own question. Yeah, it can relate to what we did yesterday too. But the discussion is going to be for completion, so as long as you're attempting, that's going to be fine. And if you have trouble wording things, that's why we have other people responding. Um, in that case, they might be able to give you some pointers in the right direction if you worded things wrong. But you should be making your own question today. And it could be any question that relates to the ratio 3 to 10, I believe. But anyways, back to this problem. Here I'm just setting up as a table here. And then you're given an original ratio on all of these. And that is, for this one, your original ratio is the 8 pounds of food for every 100 pounds of body weight. So your original ratio, we have 8 pounds of food for every 100 pounds of body weight. And then your new ratio, we don't know the amount of food, so this is an unknown. And the body weight here is 280 pounds. So if you can plug into that table, you can get your proportion right out of it, and you'll see these here make a fraction. So I have, I don't know if my head's going to be in the way if I keep going that way. So I have 8 over 100, and that's going to be equal to this fraction here, which is question mark over 280. So if you can make a table for these, you can pull out the ratio, the proportion right away. So this here is your proportion, and the question here is, can you solve this? And you do it through cross products like you've seen before. So we're going to do 100 times your unknown, which gives you 100, and I'm going to make your unknown x. So a question mark here. And we're going to do 8 times 280, which gives me 2240, and then divide each by 100. Divide that by 100, get x by itself again, and x equals 2240. So for an 8-pound animal, you need 100 pounds. For a 280-pound animal, you're going to need 200 or 22.4 pounds. And we did that problem a while ago too, so it's not like, I don't know if you remember that being the answer, but your answer will be for this value here. So it is food, keep in mind, so 22.4 pounds of food for your answer to it. There is a variety of different types of problems you can solve with this, but either way you're getting to the point where it's set up to be a proportion, and I can quickly remind you how to solve proportions here, which I just did at the bottom there, but let's just do a blanket proportion here. I'll do many of them, Charlie. That's all we're doing today is problems like this. So here, just for a proportion on solving proportions, like if you follow along in the PowerPoint, and even if you remember from like 2 weeks ago when we did this in class, I gave you a proportion t over 32 is equal to 7 over 16. And there were different ways to solve that, but basically you want to get t by itself. And anytime you have a proportion, when they are proportion, yes, you can solve these with proportions. They will always be equal here. So one of the things that we have, because we're making proportions, we're saying that they're equal. That's what the problem is telling you. It's just not saying it in those words. What you do is you just cross multiply. So we're going to do 32 times 7. And that's going to be equal to 16 times t. This side here you can actually simplify by actually doing it. You can do 32 times 7. So 32 times 7 is giving you 224. This side you can't do much with because it has the variable, so we just keep it going. And then in order to get your variable by yourself, this is just your simple one-step equation. Divide this by 16 because it's the inverse. If you already did it, you don't have to. Take notes, that is, Catherine, but you probably want to if you don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, I'm going to divide this side by 16 to cancel out the 16s. But if I do it to that side, I have to do it on this side. So this leaves you with t. And over here you have 224 divided by 16. So 224 divided by 16 is going to give you 14. So your answer here is t equals 14. And that's going to be true for any problem like this. I can do the other one in there, which was, that's a horrible one, 18 over 24, which is equal to b over 12. So even though the variable is over here instead of over there, it doesn't really matter where the variable is. You're always going to be tackling it the same way. It's always going to be cross products and then simplify to get your variable. So here you're going to do 24 times b, which is 24b, and 18 times 12, 18 times 12, and again that's going to be 24b, can't do anything with it. You can actually solve 18 times 12, which is giving me 216. And then you want to get b by itself, so you do your little line thing. Divide this by 24, divide that by 24. The 24s will cancel, leave you with b, and you're going to get 216 divided by 24, which is going to give you 9. So in this case, b equals 9. So that's the math behind it. Again, you've kind of been doing it all week, and we kind of did it last week too. It's just solving proportions. What it's always going to come down to is if you actually pick this apart, you can see it's always going to, will you get to the form you made for this? Yeah, eventually, once I'm done with the notes. I'll give you some word problems and stuff like that. But over here we have your proportion, and if you look at it closely, it's always going to be cross products. So you're always going to look at, okay, which two of these can I actually multiply? Can you do 24 times b, or can you do 18 times 12? You can do 18 times 12 because you can't multiply with b. So it's always going to be 18 times 12. And then whatever your answer is from this, you're going to end up dividing by 24, which is your other answer. And that's always going to equal b, or whatever your variable is. So you look at it, do cross products, multiply the ones that you can, and then divide by the number that you couldn't do anything with. Moving on, I want you to look at the map scale problem. So these are the kind of problems that you're going to be seeing on your Google Forms. It might not be a map scale, it might be something different than that. But here, it's done the same way. If you want to set up a table for it, you can, but a lot of you probably can just sit there and pick out the ratio. So our first ratio is 1 centimeter represents 85 kilometers, so that's 1 over 85. And that's going to be equal to my next one. Just pay attention on what this is. This is centimeters, so hey, this was centimeters, and this was kilometers. This is centimeters, so it's going to go on top with kilometers, and your unknown is going to be on the bottom this time. So on this one, it's solved the same way. Just get rid of the units there just to clean things up. You're going to do cross products. You're going to do 85 times 4.2, and you're going to do 1 times x. So 85 times 4.2 is going to be equal to 1x. This can be solved into 85 times 4.2 gives you 357, and this just reduces down to x, and in this case that's your answer. So you're looking at 357, and what is that? Kilometers? Kilometers. So on this map, 4.2 centimeters is equal to 357 kilometers in real life. But again, you just set up the proportion and solve. That's how the forms are going to work. Let's see. Redo the map scale problem. Yeah, sure. So here we have our original map scale, which is 1 centimeter represents 85 kilometers. So that's my first ratio, 1 over 85. Just keeping in mind this is centimeters and this is kilometers. So your next ratio, this has to be centimeters and this also has to be kilometers. And with that, we just plug in the other number we know. We know that this here, the 4.2 centimeters, goes with the centimeters. So I'm going to plug it up there. And then this here is your unknown. So I'm going to call that x. And then you just do your cross products. So this times this, 85 times 4.2, is going to be equal to 1 times x, which is just x, but we can write it as 1x right now. So then I'm going to solve this part. So the 85 times the 4.2, and that got me my 357. That's where the 357 comes from. And this side here, 1 times x is just x, and that's the end of it because it was a unit right here. So that's how you do it with the proportion. So this is 357 kilometers for our units. I can do another scale problem for you. I have one from the PowerPoint right here. So this one here is also a scale problem. A lot of times they do scales with maps, or in this case it's going to be a model. So like if you're going to a hobby store and you're into buying models or whatever. Here the model kit from the store is sold, has a scale of 1 foot to 600 feet. So we're going to put that as our first ratio. And keeping in mind they're both in feet, but this one here is the model. I can write an M. This one's the model, and this one's the actual ship. And that's going to be equal to the ratio, and again, we're just pulling out the other one. This is the complete model of the ship is 1.6 feet. So the model is 1.6 feet here. And again, that's coming because this is a model, and this here is also a model. So if you want to set it up in a table, that's you'd have your units there with that. And then we want to know what the actual length of the ship is, and that's going to be your unknown. I'm going to call it S for our ship. And in doing so, you just solve it by cross-multiplying again. So we have 600 times 1.6. And that's going to be equal to 1 times S. Again, 600 times 1.6 gives me 960 equals 1S, which is just going to be S, and that's your answer right there. So the actual length of the ship is 960 feet. I am going to ask you to keep the chat strictly math related so I don't have to read all your bickering. I would appreciate that. That way, if someone does ask a question, I don't miss it. All right, with that, let's look at some from the Google Forms. And we can do them different ways to see what people are thinking here. The ones for Google Forms you should be writing in your Google Forms, so you can submit those to me because you are required to do this. So let's look at our next problem. Delete our text layer. Delete that, get rid of that. So this here is your first problem from your Google Forms. So this is part of your little homework assignment thing, so to speak. But it is going to be done pretty much the same way we've been doing all of these. So this one here, I would write down because you owe me it for the Google Forms. In fact, you could probably open your Google Forms and copy it and do it while we do it. But this is the first one in the Google Forms. This one says that Jordan runs 8 miles on the treadmill in 92 minutes. If he runs at a constant pace, how long does it take him to run 6 miles? So he's not changing his pace here. These are proportional ratios. That's all what we're doing is we're looking for an equivalent ratio of 8 to 92, where 6 goes with 8. So this layer. So here our first ratio is 8 miles in 92 minutes. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to write 8 miles just to keep my units straight in 92 minutes. Just write it as a ratio. That's going to be equal to another ratio. And our other ratio is going to have 6 miles in it. So you're going to ask yourself, do you know miles or minutes? You know miles. Miles is 6. And you do not know this one here. And I'm going to call that M for minutes. It's what we don't know. And then you simply just solve it. And you're going to solve by cross products. You're going to do 92 times 6. And that's going to be equal to whatever 8 times M is. So 92 times 6 you can do. Catherine, these are the ones that you are required to write for the Google Forms. So if you want to open up the Google Forms that's attached to the assignment today, you can fill it in right as we do it. 92 times 6 is giving you 552 equals 8m. Now, unlike the last two we did, this isn't our answer because our last one, this was only 1m and we already had down to m. This one is 8m, so you got to do your little algebra with it. So I want to get m by itself, so I want to divide by 8 here, and I want to divide by 8 here. So 552 divided by 8 gives you 69, and 8 divided by 8 gives you 1. 1 times m is just m. So here, your answer should be 69 minutes. Now, what you need to write in the Google Forms, you need to give me the ratio. So you need to write some version of this, and you need to give me the answer. So you need to write some version of this. When I say some version of this, that's because there are many ways to have written this. If you didn't like putting 8 on top, you could have put 92 on top. So I can sit here and write out the 4 different ways, but it's all going to be the same thing in the end. You could have done 92 over 8 equals m over 6. That would still give you the same answer. You're still going to say, hey, we're going to do 92 times 6, and then you're going to divide by 8. You could have also set it up as 92 over m is equal to 8 over 6. So that would also work out. You could do 92 times 6, which would give you that 552 divided by 8, still gives you the 69. You could have also done, what's the one I'm missing? M over 92 equals 6 over 8. You could have also set it up that way. Anyways, you can do whatever you want. Like any one of these 4 proportions will give you the same answer. See, can I do number 4? Yeah, I'll get to number 4 next. Isn't 92 times 6 supposed to be on the right? 92 times 6 supposed to be on the right? It could be. It doesn't matter. I can do 92 times 6 and put it up here. 92 times 6. And that can be equal to 8m. We're still going to divide by 8 on both sides and get m equals 96. Or, I'm sorry, 69. It doesn't really matter which way you go. Why could it be m over 92 and 6 over 8? Did I do that one right? Yeah, as long as things match up. You can see that 92 and 8 match up because they're from the same ratio. 92 and m match up because they're both minutes. You can see that 6 and m are going to match up because they come from the same ratio. 6 being the number of miles you can run in m minutes. And 6 and 8 match up because they're both minutes, or miles, sorry. They're both miles. So as long as things are lining up, it'll work. Any other questions on this one? If not, we're going to skip to number 4. Yeah, Eli, we're going to do number 4. Yeah, they're all going to be done with the matching up thing. That's how we're doing them. This is number 4. So if you are following along, be aware we are doing number 4. Make sure you're writing your answer in the right place. Alright, this one gives us our first ratio. We can pick out pretty much in the first sentence. 9 pieces of pie cost $23.85. There's our first ratio. 9 pieces to $23.85. And then we want to know how much 2 pieces of pie cost. 2 does not go with money, 2 goes with pieces of pie, which is the 9. So this is pie, and this is money. This will also be pie, and this will also be money, and this is your unknown. You could have also set it up differently. You could have done pies on one side. Hey, this is a ratio of pi to pi, which is equal to the ratio of money, which is $23.85, because 9 pieces cost $23.85, and x would be, did I do that right? Yeah, x would be there. You could have also set it up as 2 over 9 equals x over 23.85, and the other one is 23.85 over 9 equals x over 2. Any one of those will work. So with that, let's stick with the original one I wrote. To me, that one makes the most sense just because that's how it's written in the problem. And here, you're just going to cross products. So 23 times 23.85 times 2. Multiply that by 2 is going to be equal to 9 times x, which is 9x. You can solve 23.92, so 23.85 times 2 gives you 47.7, and that's going to be equal to 9x, and again you want to get x by itself, so divide this by 9, divide that by 9, and you're getting 5.3 equals x. And remember, that is money, so your answer is actually $5.30, because money goes to 2 decimal points. So again, what I want to see in your Google Forms is the proportion setup, and I want to see the answer. Let's see. Is 9x money or pi? It's actually money times pi. It's both. You're multiplying 2 different quantities together. Because this is pi, and this is money, so money times pi. I know that's a weird unit to think about, but that's what it is. Let's see, is Lyra asking for number 2, or are you saying that number 2 is 3 miles is 17 minutes? We're going to do number 3, or number 2 for Lyra here. We're going to do number 2 next. Can't do that yet. So Danny can travel 5 miles in 45 minutes. So Danny can travel 5 miles in 45 minutes on her bicycle. That's your first ratio right there. 5 miles, 45 minutes. So 5 miles per 45 minutes. That's going to be equal to, and we know this one here says 3 miles, so we don't know We know a miles is 3, miles is on top, so we're going to stick miles here, and we do not know that value there. Once you do that, you just cross multiply to solve your answers. So 3 times 45 is equal to 5 times x. 3 times 45 is 135 times 5x. And again, you want to get x by itself, so divide each by 5. That cancels, leaves you with x. And this gives you 27. Because 135 divided by 5 is 27. So here you're getting 27 minutes. Because this should be minutes. So hopefully that clears things up. Lyra, you might want to check your division. If you're getting 17, you might have forgot a place value there. Let's see. Charlie wants number 7 next. Okay, let's look at number 7. This is so this is number 7. Number 7 states a bread recipe calls for 5 cups of white flour for every 2 cups of, 5 cups of wheat flour for every 2 cups of white flour. So that's our original ratio is 5 to 2. Keeping in mind this is wheat and this is white. And then it's going to say how many cups of wheat flour, so we don't know this one, how many cups of wheat flour are needed for 7 cups of white flour. So 7, and again this is white and this is wheat. So just read carefully. My dyslexia kicked in, so some of you might be as well. With that, just cross multiply 5 times 7 and 2 times x. And they should be equal to each other. 5 times 7 is 35, equals 2x. Divide each by 2, divide by 2. 35 divided by 2 is 15, 16, 17.5 x. So, excuse me. So, you're using 17.5 cups of wheat flour, or just 17.5 cups. Okay, let's see. Sarah's asking for number 5. All right, looking at number 5, still in the text layer. Looking at number 5, we have Mr. Lopez can grade 3 essays in 45 minutes. If each essay takes the same amount of time to grade, how long does it take her to grade 25 essays? So here our first ratio is 3 essays in 45 minutes. So 3, and that represents essays, and 45, and that represents minutes. So you know your second fraction has to have minutes down here and essays up here. With that, just continue reading. If it takes her the same amount of time to grade, how long does it take her to grade 25 essays? That's an essay, so 25 goes up top. And therefore your unknown is down here. I'm just going to call it x. So once you get it set up, you cross multiply, do 45 times 25. And that's going to be equal to 3 times x. 45 times 25 gives you 1,125, and that is equal to 3x. So you can divide each by the 3. And we are getting 375 equals x. So it's going to take 375 minutes to grade 25 essays. Oh, it does say 48, not 45. So yeah, sorry. If this was 45, sorry, Sarah. If that was 45, that would be the answer. Instead, this is a 48. So how does that change things? That becomes an 8. That becomes an 8. Let's see, 48 times 25 is that, and then that divided by 3 gives you 400. So you should be getting 400 minutes. Sorry about that. Thanks for the catch. But yeah, I should be getting 400 minutes. Make sure you copy problems right when you work on them. That's my biggest mistake too. Is there another one we want to go over? Again, make sure you're putting in a proportion, so make sure you're writing something in there that's like this. Give it a shot. The forms is based on completion, and once you do submit it, the correct answers will be in the feedback underneath it. So you can check your work on yourselves to see if you want to go back and rework something to see what it is. If you still have questions, feel free to email me. I can throw together a short video for you explaining how to do a problem or two. Number 6. Didn't we already do number 6? We did number 7. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is this our sourwood trees? Get it. Control copy. So here are 2 sourwood trees. $45 for 2. So 2 for 45. And I want to know what 7 is. 7, this is trees. This is trees. This is money. This will be money. Don't know. 45 times 7 is equal to 2x. 45 times 7 gives you 315. 2x divided by 2 divided by 2. Should be getting 157.5 equals X. So your answer is $157.50. And that is number 6, right? Is 315 money? No, 315 is trees times money. Again, you get it from multiplying $45 times 7 trees. When you multiply dollars and trees together, you get tree dollars. I know it's a weird unit, but that's what it is. That number is really just a stepping stone, so it's not going to make sense to have that written anywhere. But the 2 is also trees, so when you divide by trees, you cancel out the tree part of the tree money. We did number 7, Sarah. I can do it again, but if you want to do number 8 first, let's do number 8 first. I don't know why we just didn't start at number 1 and went through all these. Alright, this is number 8. Okay, so an exercise studio charges $90 for 6 classes. So 90 over 6, that's dollars. This is classes. That's going to be equal to how much for 4 classes? Well, this is dollars because that's dollars. So this has to be classes down here, and our unknowns up there that time, which doesn't make much of a difference. Solve the same way. 6 times x gives you 6x. 90 times 4 gives you 360. Divide that by 6, divide that by 6, this cancels, leaves you with x. X equals, well, 360 divided by 6 is 60. So it is $60. That was number 8, Catherine, so you can get that. Sarah, do you want me to do number 7 again? I can go back. Let's see, Porter wanted 3. 1, 2, 3. These are our eggs. Yeah, 8 should be the last one on the form. I think there's only 8. I know they're not numbered. I didn't number them, so I'm counting as well. There's our eggs for Porter. This is number 3, yes. This will be number 3. Alright. 5 dozen eggs cost $18. So 5, this is dozen eggs. And 18 is dollars. So again, just pull out your first ratio. That goes out front. Second one, you're looking at how much does 3 dozen eggs cost at the same unit price. The same unit price here is just saying, hey, these are proportional, so you can't ignore that. But we are looking for the 3 dozen here. And that leaves you with x. So cross multiply, 18 times 3 is equal to 5x. 18 times 3 gives you the 54, and 5x you can't do much with. Get x by itself, so divide by 5, 54 divided by 5, you're looking at 10.8 equals x. So this number is actually 10.8 dozen eggs, not just eggs. So it does make sense to have 0.8 of a dozen. You can have 0.8 of a dozen. Is there any other questions on things? I don't know if we hit up all of them yet or not. Again, it is a completion grade, so if you do miss something when you go in there, when you hit submit, it will say the right answers below, so you can go back and double check to see where you made your mistake. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Sorry, Charlie. Good call. That's on the bottom with money. Thanks, Charlie. Good call. How would I write 7? Let's see. 7. Again, there are like 4 different ways to write each of these, as long as things line up. So our first ratio is 5 cups wheat for every 2 cups white, so it could be 5 over wheat over 2 white. And just make sure you have wheat on top here and white on the bottom here, if you're going to set it up that way. And then 7 cups goes with white flour, so, oh, white's on the bottom, put it there. So you can do it as 5 over 2 equals x over 7. You can also flip it around. I mean, you could also have like x over 7 equals 5 over 2. You're all going to get the same answers for all of it. You could also flip it upside down and do 2/5 equals 7 over x. Or again, the opposite way. I mean, all those are acceptable ways of writing it. I said cups of wheat flour as your unit, Sarah? Yeah, sure. Your answer is going to be cups, but just make sure it's of wheat flour. Let's see. Well, 5 times 7 gives you 35. 2 times x gives you 2. X divided by 2 divided by 2. Are you getting 17.5 equals x? How I would write it on the form. The only thing that I would ask you to put down is your original ratio. So problem you have with that is the fact that it's going to be in text. So you would write it like That's what the feedback is for it. So here you have your original ratio, which was, you get that? So like 5/2, that's where that is, equals W/7, that's where that is. I guess I used the, you can use whatever variable you want, it doesn't really matter. But there you go, you got your 35 equals your 2. I guess I used W there. So 17.5 cups. Any other questions? We did kind of go a little longer here, so make sure you get the Google Forms done, and make sure your discussion as question is done by Friday. So discussion, make sure you have done by the end of the week. That gives other people time to respond to what you say, and you to respond to other people, so you don't have to be panicking and waiting for other people. If there's not anything else, please send me an email. Again, I've already been getting emails from a select few people. I can easily record you a quick video and send you a video on how to do a problem. It's not a problem for me. But give it a shot. Again, the feedback will come. It is a completion grade for today. I don't expect you to have it mastered. So any further questions, send it in an email, and I'll get back to you when I can. Thanks.